Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Samurai Brothers. This is episode 70 of our podcast, Matthew. It's been quite a while, the fact that we've been able to get to this point.
Yeah, we of course had that, you know, long hiatus, but we're still going. So,
Yep, we're still going, which is great. So anyway, kind of to just get into some things here. So the new chapter of One Piece is out. So we'll want to take a dive into that to see how things are going. Cover a little bit about past NCAA action from this week and what we might be looking at for the national championships. And then also at the end, just talk some brief sumo news. So, Matthew, let's get right into it. Chapter 1172 of One Piece. And this is the first chapter in 2 weeks. So we have a cover chapter, cover art of a reader's request about Bon Clay. So we got that. But now we are seeming to get back into the action of things. The flashback officially ended, and everyone is getting ready to head back up to the main land part of Elbaf. So I was kind of interesting to see here, and I was watching Grand Line Review. They kind of he was kind of pointing out that the first few pages of this chapter seems to be kind of a recap of what has been going on leading up to the flashback. So we've got the new giant pirates led by Hildine, and obviously Scopper is with them, and Chopper. Scopper is explaining about the three intruders of the God Knights and what they are trying to do right now, having taken the giant children hostage and leading them to their boat so that they can take them off to. I have to imagine this is Marie Joie at this point, since it's been a while since we were in the main point of the story. Then one thing also to point out, Sanji's kind of being like, well, why if these children are giants, how are the three humans manipulating this whole situation? Which Scopper has to say that, hey, there's devil fruits in play, so it's not like things are easily rectifiable at this point. Your say on that?
yeah, it's one of those. Yeah. Basically, devil fruits take out normal. Basically, is a leveling of the playing field when it comes to you know, um, normal size versus giant size, essentially.
Yeah. So with that being said, once they get to the top, because it looks like they're all trying to, once Scopper explains about all the powers, so obviously you've got the arrows from Gunko, you've got Summers with his thorn fruit, and then I forget the last guy's name, um, but he's the one helping to create the
Killingham.
Killingham, yes, thank you. Killingham is the one creating the manifestations of everyone's fears. So, that's a lot that seems to be going on here. When the group gets to the top and it's complete chaos, a lot of these nightmares that are going on, and the fact that the great Eric has been burned, that's a huge thing to have happened. Dory and Brogy's ship.
Because that's a huge ship, and of course it's a symbol of
Yeah, Elbaf's strength and notoriety.
yeah.
So they do find Kashi, who's explaining about what's happened and how Dory and Brogy are currently trying to. They're on their way trying to kill Jarul. Um, and then also Gerd asks about the children, and he says, and Kashi explains that Ripley is with a group chasing after them. And also Kashi explains that Roto's brother Bjorn is one of the hostages. So he starts just, running off, chasing after him. And then you've got
basically whatever role he had just goes out the window because he
it
panics.
goes out the window, and Gerd and one of the other giants has to follow him. So, and then on the flip side, Sanji is going to go to the school because to try to support Nami's group.
Yeah, because they're basically
Yeah,
indisposed at the moment.
yeah.
Not sure what
So
he's gonna do. Zoro would be kind of more the person to
yeah, because
be
one
of
thing,
use there.
yeah, because he says that Dory and Broggy have gone mad. So then we go into Kashi explains on a map of just where everything is at right now. So then we go to panels where it's showing the Walrus School and the Owl Library in flames. And by the library, there's the Straw Hat crew who got, captured by the God Knights. Now, here's the interesting thing that I think that is definitely going to come up later. Liam was kind of making comment about that too. Jinbei makes a comment about Chopper not being back, but then the real kicker here is that Brook got some kind of idea in his head and ran off. Now, of course, we've been talking about how Brook may be playing a bigger part in this arc than what we originally thought, considering his ties to Gunko. However shrouded in mystery they are right now. The fact that Brook was able to somehow get going definitely means something in this case.
Yeah, it probably has to do with his devil fruit, or maybe just the fact that he's a skeleton. Maybe he was able to slip out because he is literally the skinniest of them all. So
Right. Yeah. But then it's going to be what exactly does he have planned for this? So it'll be interesting to see.
yeah, and it's gonna see if he can genuinely break through to Gunko, and if Gunko has the will enough to break out of essentially being what's his name
Emu?
Imu's vessel at this point.
Right. So we also see panels of the rescue team, and then the children, and then Jarul is he's in the Western Village, which is right below Arus Castle. There's giants with him that are begging him to flee, but he's saying, no, you should go on ahead, basically. And he has something to say to Elbaf. So this is where things now are getting into. Things will be interesting to see from here because he does do a broadcast to all of Elbaf. And he says, hear me, Elbaf. I wish to tell you everything before I die. And then he explains the truth of what happened on that fateful day where Harold was killed. And it was because of the fact that he had wanted to bring Elbaf into the world government to coexist with the world. But he was betrayed and denied his wish. He's talking about that a demon had slaughtered Harold and the rest of his soldiers. And I think
Which is it that's kind of a tweaking. He's
yeah,
he's saying enough of the truth in a way to exonerate Loki, but it's not the whole. He's saying enough of the truth in order to exonerate Loki because the fact of the matter is if he says Loki had no choice than to kill his father, then they're still gonna.
Yeah.
So he's saying enough of the truth to honor Loki.
Because technically Harold was the one who killed the other soldiers under the influence of Emu.
Right.
Yeah. So in a way, physically it was Harold, but I don't know if I would say psychologically or mentally it wasn't Harold. I don't know how you would frame that.
Legally and morally, it was Emu,
Yeah.
who, as we've established,
Actually,
is
yeah,
kind.
that would actually make sense because Harold resisted bending the knee and handing over Elbaf to the demon.
It's like how legally uh it's like how legally if you use a human shield and
Mm-hmm.
um say a police officer is trying to kill you because you're uh doing something,
Mm-hmm.
if the police officer unfortunately kills the human shield, then technically the person liable is not the police officer. Legally, it's not the police officer, it's the person using the human shield.
Yeah,
Because the person who's the human shield would not otherwise die.
right. So Jarul says that if the people learned the truth, they would rise up in vengeance and become the warfaring nation that Harold did not desire. So he held his silence. Loki, meanwhile, bore the rage of the nation upon his back and took to the sea. He may be a tactless man, but Loki is innocent. So, like you're saying, Jarul is kind of bending the truth here because both Hildine and Zorro make comments to that. Um, a bit inaccurate, but a nice turn of phrase, so to speak.
Yeah, like it's like I said, he's saying enough of the truth, and yeah, he's
Yeah,
bending it, not saying the whole thing.
right. So so then we go to the next page, which shows all three of the God Knights, Killingham, Gunko, and Sommers. Um,
We're
the
like,
Sommers
oh well,
comment,
this makes things inconvenient.
yeah. Sommers, you know, nonchalantly commenting, "I could take a nap and still complete the mission at this point." So now
Not
what
not
what is
not 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 considering who's about to enter the battlefield.
yeah. Um, it seems that they had initially given up, but they once again require massive power, and thus three demons have come back in an attempt to take over our country. Listen up, you devils. If you spare the children's lives, we will freely give up our culture and history. But if you think you've broken our spirit, you are sorely mistaken. Do not expect Harold's patience from us. So, and then obviously, we see Usopp really happy with this because we know what this means. Um, essentially, let me see here. Jarul, if the world is destined to split in two, as the Harley's prophecy suggests, an Elbaf should be an enemy to the world government. Did you think that Thorn's reversing illusions would cause us to submit to your yoke? Um, Zoro obviously liking where this is going. Hildine commenting that 3 centuries ago he was the strongest man on the sea, which probably would not be too far from the truth there. And
Not to mention he's as an old man, he's taller than most of the younger, still in their prime,
giants.
giants. So
Yeah,
he's almost as tall as Loki.
yeah. Um, so he says, "We will never give in to your rule. Am I wrong, all you proud warriors of Elbaf? Protect the peace that Harold envisioned." And so now now he has basically rallied the troops to be ready for war against the world government. And let's see here. So now that means that the Giants are going to defend Jarul from because it looks like Dory and Brogy have reached Jarul. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes. But we see Hildine has also caught up to Dory and Brogy. So more stuff that could be happening. In the last
and
panel,
Zoro with some obviously with armament and Conquerors hockey. And as far as we know, Dorian Brogy do not have,
mhm,
unless Ema. I don't know. Ema doesn't really control
the
people with,
hockey,
yeah, he doesn't control people with hockey. Like when,
no,
what's his name? When Rox was fighting against Roger and Garp, it was his own hockey. Dorian
yeah,
Brogy do not have hockey, so, or specifically Conquerors hockey. So
yeah,
the conclusion would obviously be that Zoro is probably going to be able to overcome the hockey. You know, it's if um if Ema is using his power via a devil fruit, that's a very powerful devil fruit.
yeah. One of the most powerful. Because one thing I know is that Luffy's devil fruit is one of legend, right?
Yeah.
And supposedly now Loki's fruit is also one of, I, in our terms, it's not. This is an official One Piece thing, but at least we're coining it as this is kind of some legendary type of fruit. So
Yeah,
that's the case with
like a
Loki.
top level mythical.
Yeah, mythical. Yes. So you got those two types of fruits. That if the world government controlled, then just be they would dominate the world, obviously. So it'll be
Well,
interesting to see.
as the Elder Stars put it, the devil fruits have a mind of their own.
Yeah. So to close out this chapter, Zoro starts unsheathing his. He's got his hand on his sword and says that I've got a plan, which means anything, and it'll be something that we'll be finding out maybe in the next chapter, or it might be a couple chapters down the road. So that's going to conclude chapter 1172. Matthew, your thoughts on this before we go into some NCAA wrestling?
We're definitely hyping things up, and I think uh, something that Liam pointed out is that very often when Oda says something timeline wise, may not always work out. And that isn't necessarily because he's lying about something. He might have a game plan. But as we know, One Piece has been this constantly evolving thing. Like, what was it? 5 years into it, he said that we were about halfway done.
Yeah.
And here we are 20 some odd years later, it's still going. And the editors have often said they've had to try to reel things in because has Oda One Piece is constantly evolving. That's why when you hear stuff earlier, it's because he retcons things on a pretty regular basis because he's like, oh, I want to work on this, I want to work on that. And that's just a normal creative process. But um I do think because of the fact that he said Elbaf was not an original planned arc, I do think we could be ending this at the end of the year and heading off to the
Yeah,
what's it
I
called?
think that seems to be a consensus that the probably this will be like Egghead, where because Egghead was not very long.
Yeah, it was maybe a year.
Yeah, it was not a long arc, to say
Yeah,
the
and
least.
we with whatever the next arc is could be long.
It could be.
It could be what's it called? It could be Locktail, and if that happens, all the answers are coming
Well,
out.
well, actually,
We are, I forgot. This was the longest. What's it called? This was the flashback we just came out is the longest flashback across the board, right?
I'd have to go back and look
I
at
think
how
I've
many.
seen estimates saying that this is the longest flashback across the board. The next flashback could go on for literally years because it is going to because it if most likely we're gonna get at Loftail and
Well,
it's
and
going to
on top of that, probably. a Joy Boy flashback is probably in there.
Right. We're probably
Nefertari
gonna
Lily.
yeah, we're probably gonna see a flashback basically talking about the entire foundation of stuff. The Old Kingdom, the beginning of the Great War, um, how things happen with the Void Century, how the 20 were able to set up the world government, the true meaning of the Will of D, the relationship between Joy Boy and Davy Jones, because I think it's pretty much been insinuated they're separate characters. So we got a lot of stuff going on here. That
So I just did a Google search and the AI overview. You are right. The Elbaf chapter started in 1152 and ended 1171. So that's technically 20 chapters.
yeah,
So
basically we're gonna. I think Loft Tale is mostly gonna be a preview, a
although
prequel arc.
I'll be interested to see if because remember the Roger Pirates went to the last what's technically the last mapped island on the Grand Line in the New World before they went to Laugh-Tale.
Yeah, but that's because they had to go everywhere else in order to find the poneglyphs. The Straw Hats have the poneglyphs. Then again, so do a bunch of other people.
Yeah.
Or in the case of Buggy and Shanks, they know where Laugh Tale is. They don't. They I think when the what was Kids Pirates called? The Kid Pirates?
The Kid Pirates.
I think when they surrendered the poneglyph scratchings, it was helpful to Shanks, but he didn't necessarily need the poneglyphs. Not to mention, does he have anyone who can read the poneglyphs?
You talk about Kid?
No, Shanks.
Oh, I don't know.
Unless he's gonna roll into unless he's gonna roll into what's it called? Well, because Blackbeard has was it is it Lola? No, he has Charlotte Pudding who can read the poneglyphs. Um the Straw Hats have Robin who can read the
Mhm.
poneglyphs. And then Buggy and what's his name? Buggy and Shanks don't necessarily need the poneglyphs because they know where Loft Tail is, but it would be helpful.
Yeah. Well, so we'll see how this goes. So now we should be expecting some action, and on top of that, we don't have a break, so we will be seeing chapter 1173 next week. So, with that being said, Matthew, let's get right into some NCAA news. So, based on the rankings from last week that were
We had a
out,
bunch of upsets last week.
well, okay. First off, the NCAA's team rankings from the 26th. They had Penn State at number 1, who got 15 votes, and then Ohio State's number 2. They got 1 vote for first place. And then Iowa State number 3, Iowa number 4, Oklahoma State number 5, Nebraska 6, Virginia Tech 7, NC State 8, Minnesota 9, and Michigan 10. So let me see here. Well, let's start off with Penn State. On Friday, they did wrestle Nebraska at Penn State, and this actually seems the final score was 26-12, which based on their schedule, this was probably the closest of their duels that they've had so far. A 14-point margin victory compared to the rest of their wins. And I think there was like a couple of upsets in there too.
Well, that's still a pretty comfortable margin. Like I doubt.
Means that they won, I think, 6 matches. Or that or
Well, as you pointed, well, they're still on like the longest dual meet undefeated streak in NCAA history. They beat Gable in that.
yeah.
Haven't beat
Actually, they beat
haven't
Oklahoma
beat
State.
haven't beat Gable's 9 straight uh
Titles.
title streak, but they beat the dual meet streak.
Yeah.
So
So yeah, Nebraska. I just looked up the live scoring. Nebraska won three matches. So yes, it's a pretty comfortable scoring that they had with that. So next, Penn State has Michigan on the 6th, which is this coming Friday. And then the following Friday, they've got Ohio State. So that's going to be it's going to be the big matchup. I got to imagine that the winner of that is going to be the champion of the Big Ten, obviously. If we're looking at, okay, so one thing I do have to say, Ohio State themselves, overall for this season are 16-0. So, and they wrestled. Let me see here. Who did they? They wrestled Wisconsin and they beat them pretty soundly, 30-10. And then actually today, earlier, they wrestled Michigan. 26-16 was the final score of that too. And then they've got Iowa this coming Friday, and then the big matchup against Penn State. So, provided that Iowa somehow doesn't upset them, this will likely determine who is going to be the winner of the Big Ten in terms of the dual title. So, thoughts on that, Matthew?
well, to be fair, Iowa State, it's been a long time, but Iowa State isn't completely foreign to not just the Big Ten title picture, because a while ago they won the NCAAs, but so they're
You
not.
talk about Iowa?
No, Ohio State.
Oh, Ohio State. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I thought you said Iowa State for some reason. Okay. Yeah. Go continue.
So, I mean, ultimately, this is kind of going to determine. At this point, it's pretty safe to say the person who wins the Big Ten is going to win the NCAA championship. That's been that way since for almost a
Yeah.
few decades now.
Yeah, there was now I know that there was that one outlier year where Michigan won the Big Ten championship tournament, but Penn State then turned it up at the NCAAs. So
Yeah, well, yeah. So it's that is going. Iowa State is definitely on the rise, but um, if Kale couldn't put it together at Iowa State, I don't think. Well, let's see. I forgot who's the coach at Iowa State.
right now Iowa State is, let's see here. The Coach Dresser.
And as I recall, I think he's an Iowa guy. I'm not sure under which coach, but he's an Iowa guy. So that kind of a reverse thing where instead of Gable going to from Iowa State to Iowa, the Iowa guy went to Iowa State.
Yes, he was a Hawkeye.
Yeah. So
And he was a two-time All-American. And actually, he did win the national championship in 1986.
okay, so he's a Gable guy.
Yes, he is a Gable guy, and he was part of
Oh, that
that.
means he's got to be getting up there then.
Yeah, he was a part of that streak, though. So yes. Anyway, um, last thing, just to kind of cover before we move into some sumo news, Matthew. Iowa losing to Minnesota. And
I
again, I
mean,
think we've discussed.
it's been a while. I don't think it's happened since the Jay Robinson era, but
Yeah, kind of something. And again, we've been talking about this. Well, couple things though that probably were contributing factors to this. A couple of their starters were injured and did not compete. So obviously, when you have to use the backups, you're not going to get the complete results that you want out of this. Um, but I think one of the things is that you have to be careful about is, are you, you know, working your guys too hard, you know, that they're going to be overexerted, they're going to be tired, they're not going to be 100%. And I think that's, again, I see this type of commentary from people all the time on social media. You know, is that a contributing factor to, what's been the difference between Penn State and Iowa?
yeah, it based off of what Penn State does, if they were resting their guys up too much and not producing, that'd be one thing. But clearly, Kale has some kind of a recipe going because he's won multiple titles and hasn't wrestled his guys at too many tournaments. So
Yeah. Yep. Okay. So,
well,
well,
and in the end, there's one tournament that matters, and
mhm.
that's the NCAA
well,
championship. That's the only tournament that really matters.
well, they do have to wrestle Big Ten also. So it's Big Ten to kind of the warm up. And then, yes, you're right. The NCAA championships. That's what matters.
Well,
Well,
that's with wrestling. That's it. Doesn't matter which level. The postseason is what matters. Nothing
yeah.
else matters.
Well, so let's get right into some sumo news. So, two little things. First thing was real quick. Teruno Fuji had his Danpatsu Shiki, which is the hair cutting ceremony, on the 31st Japan time. So it would have been Friday our time. So now he's official. It is like that's the thing where you're officially retired from sumo when you do the hair cutting. And what was interesting when he did his last dohyoidi, he had Ho Shoryu and Onosato as his ring attendants, and he also brought his son Temujin in with him, and so Onosato got to hold the baby while Teruno Fuji did his dohyoidi.
Yeah, it was a kind of funny, cute commentary on social media, which I'm still impressed with the fact that he named his son gave his son the birth name of Genghis Khan.
Yeah. So, so that was so now he's obviously running the hay and such. And then, so the second thing was some sad news. So a bit of a tribute to Henry Sentoryu Miller, who unfortunately passed away after a prolonged disease. Just battling a lot of health issues going on. He died on the 29th. And we saw him wrestling when we were in Japan. And he was the first U.S. wrestler from the mainland, because there was obviously the Hawaiians. But he was the first wrestler from the mainland to have reached Makuuchi. And even though it wasn't great, he still was
Or
able
the
to
only
get
one,
up.
right?
Yes, I think he's been the only mainland,
Mainlander.
yeah, mainland, actually North America, I think also, if you think about it.
Oh yeah,
Um,
because no Canadian. Has there been any Canadians that have tried professional sumo?
yes, actually, the most famous one is Earthquake from the
Oh,
WWE.
oh really? John Tenta was
Yeah,
because then he okay, because as I recall, he was an LSU football player before he did sumo.
yeah. So, but anyway, so Sentoryu, so he was technically born in Yokota to a Japanese mother, and then his father, who was
Yeah,
in
he was a
the
hafu.
yeah was it Navy or Air Force? I don't recall, but
Yokota's Air Force.
okay. So, but then his family moved to St. Louis. So that was technically his origin as far as sumo was concerned. And so the Sentoryu Shikona was kind of it was translated to fighting, what was it? I think fighting dragon, but it was also a play on the fact that they were able to a play on that he was from St. Louis because Sentoryu,
Sentoryu Hendi, his
yeah,
first name.
Hindi, yeah. So again, he was able to make Makuuchi. He did have one winning record, and he was in Makuuchi for a total of 3 basho. Afterwards, after he retired, he did have Matthew. You're more familiar with his forays into MMA and such.
Yeah, towards the end of Pride, he was actually making fours, and he even though he had a decidedly losing record at 6-16, he actually did have one of the more successful records. He had more MMA wins than Akebono. But
Yes,
but but
very
that might have
true.
also had to do with the fact that he actually came from a wrestling background, whereas Akebono sumo was the extent of his martial arts background.
Yeah. So yeah, let me see here. Yeah, I don't know that he really had any significant matches, so to speak. I'm kind of looking at it right now. But anyway, so yeah,
He fought against a bunch of mid-level guys who were um
yeah.
I'm gonna put it this way, he fought a bunch of mid-level guys who were like on the level of Bob Sapp, basically.
So
He
with
he
that
would have
being
been he would have been a favorite in a Bob Sapp match.
so that being said, we're out of time for today. But yeah, just a final tribute to the man from St. Louis, Sentoryu Hendy. So rest in peace to him. And next week we will be back for another TSB episode. And so until then, everyone, thank you for watching, and we will see you then.